Go ahead, introduce yourself, who you help, and what you do.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Rodriguez, and I am your ADHD tech guide. What that means is I myself have ADHD, and I also help women with ADHD with web design, setting up tech, whether it be your email, your CRM, and everything in between. And I also mentor women with ADHD on how to love themselves and accept the beauty that is our ADHD minds.
That sounds amazing. How did you get into doing that?
Well, the tech part, it all started back in around 2000. Windows 98 had a way that you could design your own, they called it a theme, and it basically included your background, your sounds, your cursors, your icons, and everything. And I remember me and my husband were downloading them for our computer, and I was like, you know what? I could do that. So I started creating them. And with that, I found that I needed a way to share them with other people so that they could enjoy them as well. So, with the help of my husband's best friend, who was a tech guy, I taught myself how to build my own website. And from there, I remember those were the happiest times I had. I could spend hours just coming up with different ideas and looking for different inspirations. And so I found that tech was really exciting to me, especially on the creative side. So that's when I got into building websites. Um, as time went on, I found that a lot of people were struggling with building their CRMs, setting up their emails, a lot of things that seemed to come natural for me, a lot of other people struggled with. So that's when I decided to add that onto my business as well. Then being ADHD myself, I know it's struggling sometimes when you are trying to explain to somebody what you want or what you need, and other people just don't get it, or you might fall behind or fall short on deadlines. And people without ADHD, again, they don't understand, they get upset, sometimes they're like, you know what, if we can't get this right, then we're just going to drop the project. And I always thought that was unfair. So that's why I want to work with people who have ADHD. That way they can see that it doesn't have to be that way. Then, as far as the mentor part, I wasn't diagnosed until I was 40. And there was a lot of shame that came with that. A lot of, why are you this way? Why are you lazy? Why don't you care? Blah, 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 blah. And I always found it a struggle to try to keep up with what society expected of us. So when I was diagnosed, it opened a whole new world for me. And with that, I want to be able to share that with other women who are recently diagnosed or haven't been diagnosed yet, to let them know that we don't have to live by society standards. We're beautiful in our own way, and we need to let that shine more.
That's such an amazing story. I was diagnosed, but it was early. But personally, I found the early diagnosis didn't end up helping me. So that's just a brief version of my personal story.
It is hard because a lot of times the studies and research around ADHD are not for women or girls, they're more for boys. So there's a lot that we as women and girls miss out on when it comes to either diagnosis or treatments. So it's really important that we look for that and we become our own advocates so that we can find what works for us. Because what's going to work for you is not going to work for me. What works for me is not going to work for someone else. So we got to find that, excuse me, I'm sorry, we need to find that little uh part that's going to work for us, despite what everyone's telling us, our doctors, society, and everything in between.
Yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind how this stuff manifests, even the same difference. it's going to manifest differently in different people. So
Mhm.
different kind of support is needed.
Right. There's some people that they can just change their diet and they're okay. There's other people that need the meds. There's some people who need the structure. And then there's some people who need all the above. So that's why I'm a big advocate in finding what works for you, not what somebody else is telling you to do.
Would you say you're more introverted or more extroverted?
I can go either way depending on my mood for that day. There's some days where I crave other people, and then there's other days where I crave solidarity. So I guess it all depends on my mood. With that, I guess you could say I'm more of an omnivert because I can go back and forth.
Yeah, I'm definitely an omnivore myself. I used to think I was super introverted, but some of the super introverted things was actually because I had like this apprehension about socializing. That was really not my personality, but it was just kind of like thinking of myself as an introvert when it was really more of like a wanting to avoid something because of mindset issues. And then when I overcame the mindset issues, I realized, hey, I'm more of an ambivert. I'm not like a super
Mhm.
introvert, but I'm not like this, extroverted extrovert either.
And I think that goes for a lot of women with ADHD because we have that rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And we're always considered the oddball because we get fixated on things. Sometimes we burst out in little voices or thoughts that we're thinking in our minds. We just can't contain them, so they pop out. So I think we fear the social situations. So in that, we think we're more introverted, but we find that once we get out there with people, and especially people who accept us for who we are, we shine and we open up more to that. At least that's what I've found with myself.
Yeah, that's kind of been a learning curve for me getting over that rejection sensitivity, which I definitely had a lot of aha moments with the mindset and working on that throughout my networking journey.
Definitely.
So, do you prefer networking in groups or having more one on one conversations?
I like to start out in groups because again, because of that RSD, I'm very shy when I first meet people. So it helps me more in a group setting where other people are chatting together. But I think once I get that connection with a person, then it's easier for me to transition into that one-on-one setting where we can discuss more and get to know each other on a deeper level.
Yeah, that makes sense because you kind of have that overall getting to know different people in the group, and then you can kind of find, okay, who would I be best to connect with? Because it's usually
Mhm.
not everybody.
Right.
Would you say getting comfortable being uncomfortable is part of the entrepreneurial skill set?
Most definitely. I know it's something that I myself have struggled with, and I know many others have the same issue where we get into that comfort zone and we're in our little cocoon, and the thought of stepping out of it is almost that's where the paralysis comes in and the anxiety and the fears. And it's like it's easier just to not take that step. But I find that when we do take the step, it opens us up to some beautiful outcomes and some beautiful possibilities in our business.
Yeah, it does. And I know you've done a lot of networking. So how would you say your networking journey changed from like when you started going to networking meetings to like now?
Um, well, I first started in the I guess you could say the real world, where it
Yeah.
was like networking with going to luncheons and stuff. And at first, it was kind of terrifying, but it was something I had to do for my job. So a lot of times I would kind of just sit at my table and wait for somebody else to come approach me. Then in 2019, my husband had a stroke. So that kind of put a halt on me going out to network. Then with COVID, it opened up a door for a lot of virtual networking. And so I found that it was easier just to take that leap into the virtual networking because I was so used to doing it in a physical aspect. Also with virtual, you kind of have that shield because you're behind the camera. So I think it makes it a little easier to open up than it does in person because in person you're just kind of, I guess you could say, defenseless in a way. You're all there with the whole world to see, whereas with virtual, you can always just turn the camera off and you're good to go.
Yeah. Although having your camera on certainly helps in terms of connecting with people.
Definitely. I do try to leave my camera on as much as possible for that reason. Also, I think it's kind of rude to be at an event and shut off your camera, but that's just me.
Yeah, unless you're having tech issues, then it's kind of unavoidable.
Right. That's understandable if you're having tech issues, or say like it's your lunchtime and you don't want everybody to see you shoveling food in your mouth, then it's okay. But for the most part, I agree it's better to leave the camera on.
Absolutely. Did you invest money either in networking groups or in coaching specifically on networking?
I haven't actually. I've been fortunate enough that I was introduced to some great free networking. Um, and one of the coaches that I was with, she offered networking, but like I wasn't paying for the coaching specifically on the networking, but attending her networking events and seeing how she ran them really inspired me because she is an amazing person. She was really awesome. I like the way she did things that was kind of outside of a box. And so when she put her networking to a halt, that's when I stepped up and I was like, you know what, I want to do this and I want to continue because I enjoyed it and loved it so much.
Yeah, I think we learn a lot about networking just from attending different events because
Mhm.
different types of events are run differently. So
Mhm.
you can find what resonates with you and where you'll find the most connections.
Right.
Did you make some online connections that you invested more time in than you intended to? And what did you learn from that?
Um, I Well, I would say more like I've made some amazing friends through online networking that I probably wouldn't have met otherwise. And that has grown into collaborations, supporting each other throughout our businesses. And so I definitely find that, I guess, in a sense, yes, spending more time because we've made these great connections, but I consider it more like just evolving and blossoming friendships as opposed to, well, I'm just spending time with this person because for business purposes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's having those deeper relationships as well, rather than just about the business. Is that what you find?
Exactly. And to me, that's the whole point of networking is I don't go into a networking event with the thought of, okay, how am I going to grow my business today? I look at it as, okay, what connections can I make? What new friendships can I build? And with that comes the business along the way because people are more likely to refer somebody to you if they know and like you, as opposed to if you're just there wanting their business and you don't care about them as a person.
Yeah. Have you been on those kind of calls where it was really just a sales call?
Oh, yeah.
And I assume you've kind of gotten better at filtering those out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I still get some people that say, hey, let's meet up. And then they're just trying to sell me. And I find it doesn't go anywhere. Like we have that one call and then we don't really talk after that. But then I find those that genuinely do want to know me as a person. And like I said, we've fostered some amazing friendships through that.
What are your thoughts on tapping into your intuition when you're networking?
I'm very big on intuition. those who know me know that I'm all about the woo. And I usually do pretty well at gut instincts, whereas I can tell, like, hey, this is somebody that I'd like to get to know, or no, this is somebody that just you get that icky feeling and you just know that they're just there for one thing, and that's to make money. And so I know to stay, you kind of stay away from those people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Is that something that you kind of developed over time as well?
Um, Pretty much. I've been working with my intuition since I was a child. I come from a long line of intuitive people. So, in a sense, it kind of comes easier for me, but it is again something that you do have to harness and develop and work with. And you got to know yourself and trust yourself before you could even bring intuition into the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you've got to separate it out from like the feelings, which is sometimes the anxiety or the those kind of things versus your intuition is telling you.
Right.
Any final words, anything like else you want to talk about? Go ahead.
Um, Basically, my if anybody's considering networking, I would say definitely go with it. It's very rewarding. It is a little intimidating at first, so it might be good to like have a friend come with you, whether it's in person or online. That way, at least you know one person that you can kind of cling to. Um, but definitely go for it. Networking is an amazing way to harness relationships, to find people who are like minded, and grow your business in a way that's authentic. So yeah, I highly recommend it to anyone out there who might be on the fence on, do I really want to network or not?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'd like to say I met Lori through networking, and I'm so glad that I did because I consider her now a good friend. And I really enjoy that she invited me on to come do this interview.
Thank you so much because I absolutely love showing how people use networking in their business and talk to other business owners about how it's done so people can see that it's a real thing that people do.
Yes.